The Forgotten Colony. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of New Kepler Mining Station, watching the twin suns set over the crystalline landscape. The colony had been humanity's most remote outpost for 12 years, a testament to human determination to push beyond the comfortable boundaries of known space. What she didn't know was that their isolation had kept them safe from something far worse than loneliness. Dr. Marcus Webb burst through the door, his usually calm demeanor shattered. "Sarah, we need to talk. Now." His hand shook as he clutched a data pad containing readings that would change everything they understood about their place in the universe. "What is it, Marcus?" "Another equipment malfunction." Sarah turned from the window, noting the pale expression on her old friend's face. They had served together since the colony's founding, and she had never seen him this rattled. "It's not our equipment. It's them." He activated the holographic display, showing a three-dimensional representation of space around New Kepler. Long-range sensors picked up something approaching our system. Multiple ships, moving in perfect formation. They'll be here in 72 hours. Sarah studied the display. The approaching vessels moved with a precision that seemed almost mechanical, maintaining exact distances and speeds. "First contact protocol, then. We've drilled for this." Marcus shook his head. "Sarah, you don't understand. These aren't explorers or traders. Look at the energy signatures." He enhanced the display, revealing massive power readings from each vessel. "These are warships, and they're not slowing down." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. New Kepler housed 8,000 colonists, including families, children, and elderly settlers who had chosen this remote world as their home. The nearest Earth fleet was months away, even at maximum speed. They were completely alone. "Have they responded to our communication attempts?" Sarah asked, already knowing the answer from Marcus's expression. "Nothing. Complete radio silence. But Sarah, there's something else, something that doesn't make sense." He manipulated the display again, showing a much larger view of the galaxy. "I've been analyzing historical data, cross-referencing with our deep space observations. There are patterns here. Dead systems, worlds that once showed signs of life, but are now completely sterile." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's climate control. How many systems? Hundreds, maybe thousands, all following the same pattern. Advanced civilizations. Then nothing. Complete silence. Marcus's voice dropped to a whisper. "Sarah, I think we're looking at the galaxy's greatest predator, and they're coming for us." The next morning, Sarah called an emergency colony meeting. The main assembly hall had never held so many people, their faces reflecting the same mixture of fear and determination that had brought their ancestors to this distant world. She stood before them, knowing that her next words would either unite them or destroy their morale completely. "Fellow colonists, we face an unprecedented threat. Unknown hostile forces are approaching New Kepler with what appears to be destructive intent. We have 72 hours to prepare." The hall erupted in concerned voices, but Sarah continued. "However, we are not helpless. We are human, and humans have never been good at giving up." Over the following hours, the colony transformed. Mining equipment became weapons. Drilling lasers were repurposed as defensive systems. The massive ore processing facilities were converted into shield generators using principles that Earth engineers had only theorized about. Every person contributed their skills, from the youngest engineer to the oldest farmer. Dr. Webb coordinated the technical preparations while Sarah organized the defensive strategy. They used the colony's underground mining tunnels to create a network of protected passages. The ore extraction robots were programmed with basic combat protocols. Even the colony's children helped by organizing supply lines and communication networks. On the second day, something extraordinary happened. As Sarah monitored the defensive preparations, she noticed a shimmer in the air near the communications array. The distortion grew stronger until a figure began to materialize. It was humanoid but clearly not human, with features that seemed to shift and change as if made of liquid starlight. "Do not be afraid," the being spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "I am Zephyr, observer of the collective. Your species has caught our attention." Sarah approached cautiously, her hand near her sidearm, but not threatening. "Who are you? What do you want?" "I am what you might call a watcher. My people have observed this galaxy for millennia, bound by ancient laws that forbid interference with developing civilizations. But your response to the approaching purifiers has created an unprecedented situation." "The purifiers?" Dr. Webb stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "Is that what they're called?" Zephyr nodded, the movement causing ripples of light across its form. "They have cleansed this galaxy of what they consider chaotic species for over 50,000 years. The Galactic Council tolerates them because they maintain order, removing civilizations that might disrupt the established hierarchy." Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. "And you just watch. You let them commit genocide. The law of non-interference is absolute. Until now." Zephyr's form seemed to solidify slightly. "Your species was not supposed to reach this far into space. Your technology should not have advanced this quickly, and your response to certain destruction should not be to fight back with such innovation and unity." Dr. Webb had been analyzing readings on his scanner, the energy patterns around this being. "They're incredible. Sarah, I think we're dealing with technology so advanced it might as well be magic." "Magic is simply science you do not yet understand," Zephyr replied. "But your species has shown something that our advanced science cannot replicate. You refuse to accept the impossible as inevitable." Over the next hours, Zephyr observed the colony's preparations with what could only be described as fascination. The humans had turned their entire settlement into a fortress using nothing but mining equipment and pure determination. They had created weapons from tools, shields from ore processors, and tactical advantages from landscape features. "This is not how species typically respond to the purifiers," Zephyr confided to Sarah as they watched colonists install the final defensive systems. "Most civilizations either flee or attempt to negotiate. Some try to hide. None have ever prepared to fight back with such creativity." Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead, exhausted from the preparations but driven by protective instinct. "We can't flee. This is our home. We can't negotiate with something that won't communicate, and we're not good at hiding. So we fight, even knowing you cannot win. Especially then." Sarah looked out at the colonists working together, each contributing their unique skills to the common defense. "That's what humans do. We fight hardest when the odds are worst." As the final hours approached, the colony's defensive preparations were complete. Every person had a role, every system had been optimized, and every possible advantage had been identified and utilized. The approaching purifier fleet had grown larger on the sensors, revealing ships the size of small moons bristling with weapons that could sterilize entire planets. Dr. Webb approached Sarah with a final report. "All systems are operational. The mining lasers are focused and coordinated. The shield generators are at maximum capacity. Underground shelters are prepared for non-combatants. We've done everything possible." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility for 8,000 lives. "Marcus, I need you to know something. If this goes badly, if we don't make it, I want you to know that serving with you and these people has been the honor of my life." "We're not dead yet, Sarah," Marcus replied with a grin that didn't quite hide his fear. "And who knows, maybe we'll surprise them." Zephyr approached them as the final countdown began. "The purifiers have just entered your system. Their cleansing protocol will begin in exactly 1 hour. Captain Chen, your preparations are admirable, but you must understand that no species has ever survived their first encounter with a purifier fleet." Sarah looked at the alien observer with calm determination. "Then I guess we're about to make history." The first phase of the attack began with a demonstration of power. The purifier flagship fired a single beam at New Kepler's outermost moon, completely vaporizing the celestial body in seconds. The message was clear: surrender or face complete annihilation. Instead of fear, The colonists responded with grim determination. Sarah activated the colony-wide communication system. All stations, this is Captain Chen. They want to show us their power. Let's show them ours. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who will ever look up at the stars and dream of what's possible. We're fighting for the future. The colony's response was immediate and coordinated. Every mining laser fired simultaneously, creating a web of energy that reached into space. The ore processing facilities generated a shield that covered the entire settlement. The drilling equipment began creating new defensive positions, even as the battle commenced. For the first time in 50,000 years, the purifiers encountered resistance that seemed to adapt and improve with each exchange. The human defenders used tactics that defied conventional military logic, turning their industrial equipment into weapons of surprising effectiveness. Zephyr watched in amazement as the impossible unfolded before its ancient eyes. "This should not be happening," it whispered, its voice filled with wonder. "Your technology is inferior, your numbers are insignificant, and your weapons are improvised. Yet you continue to fight." Sarah, coordinating the defense from the command center, smiled grimly as she watched the battle unfold. "We're just getting started. When Earth responds." Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDS Determination, humanity's first purpose-built interstellar battleship, watching the tactical display with growing concern. The emergency beacon from New Kepler had reached Earth 72 hours ago, carrying news that would forever change humanity's understanding of its place in the galaxy. "Status report, Commander Morrison," she ordered, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were facing. Commander Jake Morrison, a tactical officer known for his unconventional approaches to military problems, looked up from his console. "Admiral, we're still 18 hours out from New Kepler at maximum burn. The good news is that the colony is still transmitting. The bad news is that they're under active attack by forces we can't even begin to understand." Elena nodded grimly. The Earth fleet had been assembled in record time, pulling ships from across the solar system. 15 vessels in total, representing humanity's entire interstellar combat capability. It was a force designed to handle theoretical conflicts with other human colonies, not to face an alien threat of unknown capabilities. "Any word from the diplomatic corps?" Elena asked, knowing the answer but hoping for a miracle. "Nothing, Admiral. The attackers have maintained complete radio silence. No response to any communication attempts." Morrison paused, reviewing his data. "Admiral, there's something else. Deep space monitoring stations have detected similar energy signatures throughout this region of the galaxy. Whatever hit New Kepler, it's not an isolated incident." Dr. Sarah Kim, the fleet's chief science officer, approached with a tablet full of disturbing data. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the sensor readings from New Kepler. The attacking force is using technology that's centuries ahead of anything we've developed. Energy weapons that can vaporize entire moons, shields that seem to bend space itself, and ship designs that suggest they've been perfecting interstellar warfare for millennia." Elena studied the data, feeling the weight of command settle on her shoulders. "Recommendations, Doctor. Honestly, we should evacuate the colony if possible and retreat to Earth. This isn't a fight we can win through conventional means." Dr. Kim's expression was grim but honest. "Their technology is simply too advanced." Commander Morrison looked up from his tactical analysis. "With respect, Doctor, that's not an option. The colony is under active siege. Any evacuation ships would be destroyed before they could clear the system. And besides," he added with a slight smile, "since when have humans ever chosen the easy option?" Elena found herself smiling despite the circumstances. "Commander Morrison, start working on tactical scenarios. I want options, no matter how unconventional. Dr. Kim, I need you to analyze their technology for weaknesses. Even the most advanced systems have vulnerabilities." "Admiral," Morrison said, his excitement growing as he worked through the possibilities. "What if we approach this like humans instead of trying to fight like we think we should?" These aliens have been doing this for thousands of years. They expect certain responses, certain tactics. What if we give them something they've never seen before? Over the next several hours, the human fleet prepared for what everyone knew would be the most important battle in human history. The ships were loaded with weapons designed for ship-to-ship combat, but Morrison's tactical team had developed modifications that turned standard equipment into something entirely new. Elena walked through the ship, talking with crew members and observing their preparations. What she saw filled her with pride and determination. Engineers were modifying missile guidance systems to function as swarm drones. Weapons specialists were creating new firing patterns that maximized unpredictability. Even the ship's cooks were contributing by developing emergency rations that could sustain the crew through extended combat. As they approached the new Kepler system, the full scope of the battle became clear. The colony was still fighting, but barely. The attackers had settled into a methodical bombardment, systematically destroying the human defenses with ruthless efficiency. "Admiral," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission. It's not from the colony." Elena straightened in her command chair. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was unlike anything they had heard before, seeming to resonate with harmonics that human ears weren't designed to process. "Unknown vessels, you are entering a cleansing zone. Withdraw immediately or face elimination with the chaotic species you seek to protect." Elena looked at Morrison, who nodded encouragingly. She activated the ship's communication system. "This is Admiral Elena Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here to defend human civilians from unprovoked attack. Withdraw your forces immediately." The response was immediate and devastating. The alien flagship fired a weapon that turned a nearby asteroid into cosmic dust. "Your technology is primitive. Your resistance is futile. This is your final warning." Elena smiled grimly. "Commander Morrison, initiate your tactical scenario. All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. We are outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology we barely understand. In other words, it's a typical Tuesday for humanity. Let's show them what we're made of." The human fleet's attack began with what appeared to be a conventional assault formation. The aliens, expecting standard military tactics, prepared their defenses accordingly. What they encountered instead was something entirely new to their experience. Human ships broke formation unpredictably, using random number generators to create flight patterns that couldn't be anticipated. Weapons fired in sequences that defied military logic but maximized psychological impact. The modified missile systems created swarms of drones that behaved more like insects than military hardware. Commander Morrison watched the tactical display with growing excitement. "Admiral, their response times are slowing. I think we're actually confusing them." On the surface of New Kepler, Captain Sarah Chen watched the space battle unfold with amazement. The Earth fleet was using tactics that seemed to violate every principle of military strategy she had learned, yet somehow they were effective. Zephyr materialized beside her, its form flickering with what could only be described as excitement. "This is unprecedented. The Purifiers are experiencing tactical confusion for the first time in their recorded history. Your species is introducing variables they cannot calculate." Sarah smiled as she watched a human destroyer use its mining equipment to create an asteroid field that disrupted the alien formation. "We're good at that, making things up as we go along." The battle raged for hours, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. The aliens had superior technology, but the humans had superior adaptability. Every time the Purifiers adapted to human tactics, the humans changed their approach entirely. Dr. Kim, monitoring the battle from the fleet's command ship, made a crucial discovery. "Admiral, I've identified a pattern in their shield technology. It's designed to repel direct energy attacks, but it's vulnerable to rapid frequency changes. If we can modulate our weapons fast enough." "Do it," Elena ordered. "All ships, implement Dr. Kim's frequency modulation immediately." The effect was immediate. Human weapons began penetrating alien shields with increasing effectiveness. The Purifiers, faced with a technology they couldn't counter, began to retreat for the first time in their long history. But the most important moment came when Zephyr appeared on the bridge of the human flagship. "Admiral Rodriguez, I must speak with you. What is happening here will change the galaxy forever." Elena looked at the alien observer with curiosity rather than fear. "And you are?" "I am Zephyr, representative of the collective. We have observed galactic civilizations for millennia, bound by laws that forbid interference. But your species has forced us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about technological development and species survival." Commander Morrison looked up from his tactical station. "Admiral, the alien fleet is withdrawing. They're actually retreating." Elena felt a surge of pride mixed with amazement. "How is that possible?" Zephyr's form seemed to brighten. "Because you have done something that no species in galactic history has accomplished. You have fought the Purifiers to a standstill using inferior technology and superior ingenuity. The Galactic Council will have to acknowledge that their policies are flawed." Dr. Kim approached with her analysis. "Admiral, I've been studying their technology during the battle. It's incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly rigid. They've optimized their systems for specific types of conflicts. They literally cannot adapt to our chaotic approach." Elena nodded, understanding beginning to dawn. "They've been fighting the same way for thousands of years because it always worked before." "Exactly," Zephyr confirmed. "The Purifiers eliminate chaotic species before they can develop effective resistance. But humanity reached interstellar capability without following the expected developmental path. You have created something new." As the immediate crisis passed, Elena realized that this was just the beginning. "What happens now?" Zephyr's form seemed to solidify with purpose. "Now the galaxy must learn to accommodate a species that refuses to follow the established rules. The collective will petition the Galactic Council to recognize humanity as a protected species, and the Purifiers will have to develop new tactics for the first time in their existence." Elena looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. "Commander Morrison, prepare a detailed report on our tactical innovations. Something tells me we're going to need to share our methods with some new allies." Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the communication system from New Kepler's surface. "Admiral Rodriguez, on behalf of the colonists of New Kepler, thank you. We're still here because Earth didn't abandon us." Elena smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility transform into the promise of possibility. "Captain Chen, we never abandon our own. And apparently, we're not very good at following the rules either." As the human fleet began recovery operations, a new chapter in galactic history began. Humanity had proven that sometimes the least advanced species could teach the most advanced civilizations new lessons about survival, adaptation, and the power of refusing to give up. The galaxy would never be the same.